I want to speak to Jared West now. He's a partner at Spoor and Fisher, because recently there have been videos online of supposed workers inside factories in China where the famous brand items are manufactured, and they tease the viewers by saying you can get them at a fraction of the price if the popular label hasn't been attached. Here's an example of one of those videos saying you don't have to pay the thousands and thousands of dollars. You could get it for a tenth of the price buying it directly from us.
This is Hermes Candy Himalaya. It is the shared dream of all Chinese women. No, not just Chinese. It is the shared dream of all human women. Do you know how much it cost at the boutique? $250,000. And that is just the price for this bag. Before you buy it, you need to make sure that you are qualified or entitled to buy it, which means you must have already spent more than $1 million USD at the boutique before you are allowed to see this bag, to buy this bag. But do you want to know what the price we have for our bag made by our factory? Well, I'll just tell you this. Less than 1/10 of the price at the boutique. And what you should see and know is that we use exactly the same leather. This is crocodile leather. Exactly the same as Hermes. And the hardware, gold-plated stainless steel, we use exactly the same. Everything else, stitches, thread, everything else, exactly the same. Our price is less than 1/10. Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you want to realize the shared dream of all women on this planet? You know what to do.
So this and other videos got us thinking, are goods only considered to be counterfeit or grey products if they have the branding and the logo on them, or is it also about key design elements? Jared West, partner at Spoor and Fisher, thanks so much for joining us. Jared, luxury handbags, for example, in this particular video, made in China and then finished off in countries like Italy, where's the grey area when it comes to what is a legitimate handbag minus the brand label, or whether it's simply the same handbag simply without the brand label?
Honestly, yeah, it's an interesting development, these videos, but ultimately they are false. These are absolute falsehoods. And the fact of the matter is all of the big luxury brands, not only European, across the world, some of them may have manufacturing facilities in the East. That is undisputed. However, those factories are audited, and there's traceability, and simply saying that if you don't put the badge on, it's not a counterfeit is also not true. Because let's go back to the very definition of what is a counterfeit. A counterfeit is when a brand or logo or trademark is applied to a product without the authority of the trademark proprietor. So yes, if the bag doesn't have the brand on, it won't be considered a counterfeit. But there are certain...
So if that's counterfeit, what makes something designer? A designer handbag, a designer sneaker? What is it that makes something designer?
So designer effectively means that it is manufactured by the design houses, so the big brands. But there's a lot of design elements that go into the manufacturing of these bags. So creating the shapes, and some shapes by themselves bear reputation. So some of the big Italian brands, you don't even have to see the logo to know that is a bag manufactured by one of those brands because of the shape, as an example. And certain other intellectual property rights subsist within the shape. So they could be design rights, in certain instances, copyright in the shape of the product. So just the trademark alone doesn't make a brand, a designer brand.
So it's not as if I can think of popular sport shoes like Adidas or Nike. I can't just make replicas without a trademark label and then sell them at a fraction of the price as these videos from China suggest.
Correct. Exactly, because certain other rights would subsist in that, even though it might not bear the trademark.
What about clothing items particularly, or even electronics that have just something that's a little bit different? If a Nike sneaker has 50 stitches that connects the fabric to the sole, and the off-brand sneaker that I'm making, similar design, similar colors, but it's only using 45 stitches. Am I infringing on anyone's copyright here?
It depends. It depends on the shape of the shoe. It depends on the design of the shoe. There could be certain other design elements. So if it's a standard white sneaker, whether there's 50 stitches or 45 stitches, it matters not. If there's no trademark on, it won't infringe on anybody's trademark rights. But once you get to very kind of recognizable shapes, and you use Nike as an example, let's say the Air Force One as an example. It's a very recognizable shape. So you'll recognize the Air Force One whether it's got a trademark on or not. And therein lies the problem. So if you're going to manufacture a shoe that looks virtually identical, whether it's got 45 or 50 stitches matters not, you'll still be able to recognize it as a Air Force One.
Jared, what's the thinking behind a manufacturer, let's call them a grey market manufacturer, who would make a shoe similar to Nike but call it Mike, or make a shoe that's similar to Adidas but call it Adibas? Clearly, people know the difference, and there's a different name, but they're still selling it as something similar. What is the idea when manufacturers make these products? The name's slightly different. Surely anyone would know the difference.
Not necessarily, and I think that's the point. So in trademark law, there's a term called confusingly similar. When you buy a car, it's going to cost you R1 million. You're going to do a lot of research and you look at it very carefully. When you buy a pair of shoes that maybe cost you R1,000, you would not necessarily look as carefully and do as much research, and just a simple variation of the name, you might not automatically see the change or the difference between the two trademarks, Adidas, Adidas, whatever the case may be. And in such a case, when you look quickly with imperfect recollection of the consumer, you might buy it thinking that you are buying the real deal. But at the end of the day, all of these things are just trying to ride on the reputation of the brand, and they will manufacture something that is confusingly similar, just close enough to confuse the consumer. If you look quickly, it might still look exactly the same. And it's all riding on the reputation of the big brand.
Jared, just finally, what's behind these videos? Clearly coming, following what is a clear trade war between China and the USA.
In my view, it is kind of a terrible attempt at normalizing counterfeiting and the trade in illegitimate goods by these Chinese, let's call them bad actors, either the manufacturers or the exporters, trying to undercut the genuine products and getting these things into the market and making it normal, which it certainly is not. It is a crime, and it stays illegal.
Jared West, really appreciate your time, partner at Spoor and Fisher.